News, views, voices of the global Indian community. India abroad.
You see, in modern day, an importance of a place is established by iconic monumental structures. For example, when you talk about Paris, it's Eiffel Tower. When you talk about Dubai, what comes to your mind is the Burj Khalifa, like that. So, we wanted to make Vrindavan well known internationally, globally. And so we thought that we should have a monumental structure, a tall, imposing structure like that, iconic. And that is how we have conceived of a skyscraper temple for Krishna in Vrindavan. It is 210 meters, 70 floors high. And but the architecture is very traditional North Indian temple architecture. And the second objective is, you see, if you ask an average Indian, have you heard of Vatican? You will say yes, all educated people, we have all heard of the Vatican. If you ask an average European, have you heard of Vrindavan? Unlikely. You see?
Many Indians would not even know that.
Even many Indians wouldn't know. Many people in South India wouldn't know. You see? So, for all the wonderful message that Krishna has provided, Krishna's message, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and the Bhagavad Gita, it has been continuously crafting the psyche of every Indian and has kept people on the path of morality and ethics. And, to have 1.4 billion people in one place. Recently, someone was telling me that during COVID, there was such a mass-scale disruption in every country. We were pretty peaceful and we passed through. There is a certain Indian ethos, there is an Indian DNA, which is highly influenced by our itihasas like the Mahabharata and Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita. And so this has to be celebrated. This has to be made well known. You see, in our, I don't know if you visit India recently, in the last 10 years, 15 years, India has been making a lot of progress. The urban centers are all, you go for shopping, you go to your mall, you go to hospitals. Hospitals are very good, good hospitals are coming up. Airports are improving. I think India has some of the finest airports, better than some of the American airports in the world. So, schools are having good infrastructure, hospitals. As Indians are doing well, their life experience in shopping, hospitals, school, airports, train stations, everywhere the infrastructure is very good. You can't have broken infrastructure for spirituality. Our temples can't be in perpetual disrepair. That is what has happened. So we want to create a world-class religious infrastructure which young people who are used to all of this affluence can connect with and relate with. So, and another example I'll tell you, our Honorable Prime Minister has been making a statement, giving a call to the Indian diaspora, please bring 5 Americans from America to bring them to India and show them India. When you bring them to India, of course, anybody who is coming from any part of the world, when they are coming to India, they are looking for spirituality. See, of course, they may see good airports, all those things are also impressive and interesting and it should be there. They are also looking for spirituality. So we must have spiritual infrastructures, religious infrastructures, which you can be proud of to bring foreigners and show them. And when you bring them to Vrindavan, you must be able to show this kind of a world-class infrastructure. and built around the message of Krishna. And so that is another important objective. It is, I will share a picture because a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Right.
And so it has a very tall shikhar. You know, in a temple architecture, there is something called a shikhar.
Right.
It is our shikhar which goes up to 70 floors high, 210 meters.
Right.
And then there is it's an octagonal structure which goes up, and then there is a north wing, south wing, east wing, west wing. These are the 4 temples. And then there are 3 temples and 1 memorial of Srila Prabhupada on the 4 sides. And this will have, you know, you might have seen ISKCON temples, like we have our temple in Bangalore. We have a temple, and it's a very vibrant place. We have deity worship, we have festivals, we have youth program, we have children's program, we have donors program. So, and all of these things will be throughout the year. We have a calendar of festivals that are observed, and it makes it a vibrant place, and people like to participate in these things. And there is also culture, there is also art and music and dance. Performing arts is also part of this complex in Vrindavan. We will have a school for performing arts, and where we will teach and perform also. We also have a theme park elements in it, meaning there is storytelling from our Puranas and Itihasas, using modern technology, animatronics, dioramas, dolls, lighting, sound effects, environmental effects. In other words, you don't hear a story, but you experience a story. So we know the story of Krishna's birth, Krishna lifting Govardhan hill, or Draupadi being disrobed, and Krishna saving her. You know, all these different stories that are there, we are going to depict them in a 3-dimensional environmental experience. Like you see in the Disney world, the stories are being told, but we want to tell the stories from our itihasas, using all of this modern technique from everywhere, from all over the world, from India itself. And one other important objective is a project of this kind will invigorate the local economy, and create a lot of jobs, and and will bring a lot of direct and indirect employment in this kind of a sector. And that will bring development for local Vrindavan. That's another very important aspect.
By when do you expect?
Currently, the south wing is ready. The whole complex is about 12 lakh square feet, built up area, which is 120,000 square feet. No, 12 lakhs is 1.2 million square feet. The south wing, which is ready, is about 220,000 square feet, which is about to be inaugurated in another 5-6 months. So the rest of that will come. We are hoping that in the next 5 to 6 years, the rest of the project should come. Currently, we have been told that 20 million people come to Vrindavan. And the government of Uttar Pradesh tourism estimates says that in the next 6 to 10 years, it is going to become 5 times more, which is 100 million. So our plans are to be able to cater to a very large number. For example, we are creating one of the biggest parking facility, multi-level parking, which can park 3,000 cars at a time. So it's about 10 acres in three basement levels. So, like that, we are equipping ourselves, we are planning ourselves to be able to handle about 200,000 people every day, and on festival days, much higher. So we are equipping ourselves to handle large number of people, whether it's the facilities or the dining facilities. And so in every respect, we are planning to be able to handle on a big scale. The cost of the project is 600 crores, which in millions of dollars will be $80 million. Fortunately, the government of India and government of Uttar Pradesh have been stepping up the infrastructure around Mathura and Vrindavan. Very close to Vrindavan, it will be about 1 hour, or little more than an hour drive. The largest international airport of the country, Jivar is coming up in Greater Noida, which is about less than 1.5 hours from Vrindavan. So that will be a very big support. Right now there are two expressways coming from Delhi to Vrindavan. One is called the Mathura Road and the Mathura Highway, Delhi-Agra Highway. The other one is the Yamuna Express, so which is actually able to bring a large number of people. And within Vrindavan, major projects are being planned by the NHAI, National Highways Authority of India. So that infrastructure also improves. So I think we have a very responsible government at the state and the central level who are very concerned about improving the infrastructure. And there is a lot of plans. I think in the next 5 years or 8 years or so, lot of infrastructure improvement is expected, and that is going to help our project. Otherwise, our project will require, will bring such a large influx of people, and if this infrastructure is not commensurate to it, there will be a lot of inconvenience. I think the government is conscious of it, and they are doing well, I think.
Of the 100 million?
If you see, we are very close to Vrindavan is Agra. Agra already has about 15 to 20% foreign tourists and 80% domestic tourists.
Right.
So when you have an iconic project of this kind, definitely all those foreign tourists of Agra will stop over here. And we plan to ensure that they have a good experience. We have a heritage museum, as I said, performing arts, culture and performing arts. We have a museum, we have an art gallery, we have a Gita museum. So all of these things planned, both for a common man and for an educated, discerning audience. We have different kinds of experiences that have been planned in the whole infrastructure. So, and there is accommodation facilities, staying facilities.
Within the complex itself.
In the complex itself. It's about 75 acres property in the whole development.
It's main Vrindavan, sir.
Right, very much in Vrindavan. You can say the Vrindavan Old City. It's 2 kilometers from the Vrindavan Old City. So that way it is just a little bit outside, but at the same time it's all part of Vrindavan Corporation.
Right.
On a big numbers, millions of copies around the world.
Press, right?
Correct.
You are the only one who distributes.
On a very large scale,
right?
yeah.
And then Akshayabad.
Yes.
Right. So this is the fourth one you will be adding to that.
Right. Yeah. You see, in fact, you very nicely you have pointed out. It is said in the Bhagavatam, Krishna's Krupa, Krishna's mercy, is available in the form of his holy name. That is why we chant.
Right.
It is available in the form of his message, the Bhagavad Gita,
Right.
and is available in the form of prasadam. So that is why, in ISKCON you will see prasadam distribution, message, knowledge distribution, and the holy name distribution. These are very important things by which we can touch the hearts of people and enrich their lives with this knowledge, with this kind of a thing.
On the Gita itself, I wanted to ask you about.
There is increasing awareness, but it is not sufficient, because people have some kind of a cultural and religious respect for Bhagavad Gita. Even when we sell a Bhagavad Gita, people will say, oh yes, I should have a copy of the Gita in my bookshelf.
Right.
And are they reading it? We want to make sure they read. So in ISKCON we have varieties of programs, and one of the programs is we are conducting online sessions, online Bhagavad Gita courses, so that people get to know the message of Gita is very, very special. It is very enriching, and it gives purpose and meaning to life. And every day in the morning when you get up, the message of Gita should strike a person and energize him or her. That is the potential that exists, because there are a lot of miseries in this world. There are a lot of negative things to feel sad about and to feel despair. But Bhagavad Gita message can actually bring that vigor and purpose in life. And so we want more and more people to become educated about the message of Gita. That's also a very important concern we have.
Has it?
I think so. In the last 10, 15 years, the younger generation especially, in India there is definitely a big surge, and all over the world, because our Prime Minister himself is a great ambassador of Indian culture. Wherever he goes, like you said, he gives a copy of the Gita to the world leaders. And there is certainly a greater awareness. I have been coming to America last 30 years or 35 years. I have seen in the very early times, when I used to tell we follow a religion called Hinduism, people would never have heard of Hinduism.
Right.
They'll say, what? Hinduism? Is that a kind of Buddhism? They would ask. Today, on the other hand, there is a great deal of awareness, and there is in India and outside India. I think it's a very heartening thing. And India has actually that important thing to contribute. The message, the spiritual message, the spirituality is something very well researched. Intellectually, there is an intellectual rigor to spirituality in our country. There are scriptures, there is the Upanishads, there is the Vedanta, there is the Bhagavatam, there is the Gita, and there is a tradition of debating and discussing and having discourses on these things. And so there is an intellectual depth to it, and it is truly universal. It is not, a Gita or the Upanishads are not to be seen only within a religious framework. It has got something that is very, very universal. In fact, ISKCON founder is Srila Prabhupada. This was the message he had. Once he wrote a letter to the Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, 1950s. He said, the Socratic method of questioning, the Socrates developed that critical thinking, that has benefited the whole world. It was not confined only to the Athens or the Greece. It was taken all over the world, and it has benefited. That kind of a critical thinking exists in science, it exists in business, it exists in politics, it exists in judiciary. In everywhere you ask right questions to unlock understand something correctly. So this kind of a critical thinking is universal. In the same way, there is a message in the Bhagavad Gita which is universal, and it cannot be confined and restricted to Indians alone. It should go all over the world. So that was the kind of he saw, as much as Socratic questioning and critical thinking is so fundamental and so universal and can benefit humanity, Srila Prabhupada saw that there is a message of the Bhagavad Gita which is so universal and can benefit humanity all over the world. So it's not just to be seen through a religious prism or merely in the confines of a religious framework. It is something that's going to give a vision for life, vision for humanity, a universal goal, and will certainly bring about universal brotherhood. And
I'll
that's
not
the
ask
spirit
you,
of...
is it still relevant?
You see, the Western world, we should understand, it's an educated population. It's a critically examining, discerning population. So in America, in the Western countries, we should make a scientific presentation of the message of Indian scriptures on one hand. But I wouldn't say everybody is only intellectually oriented, even in a Western country. The next thing is culture, Indian culture, and through music, through dance, through plays, is another through art, is another very important way by which we can communicate Indian culture, Indian message, the message of the Gita. You see, we must have, just like in America and in Europe, we have natural history museums. We must have Gita museums presenting the message of Gita in a very, very contemporary way, true to the original tradition. Not that we are going to dilute the message. The message has to be authentic, original message, but modern presentations are possible. So that's another initiative that we have in Vrindavan, to set up a Gita museum so that people from all over the world will come. You may take about 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours walking around the museum. At the end of it, you will capture about at least a dozen concepts from the Gita, which you can take home with you. So these are all some of the aspirations of our Vrindavan project, and we must have this kind of, all the natural histories, museums in America. It was all built out of American philanthropy.
Right.
You see, in the same way, I would think that Indians are doing very well in America or in the Western countries. The Indian philanthropy should go to set up Bhagavad Gita museums, cutting edge technology, using cutting edge technology and presentation techniques of the pristine message of Bhagavad Gita, and Indian philanthropy should create this one. And of course, Indians now are creating temples, which is very good. But with temples, we should also create museums which can educate people. Because here, schools take children to museums, right? And that's a very educational experience for children. So we need to create these kind of educational and edutainment infrastructures in the Western world also. Yeah. You see, although there is a great deal of respect for Bhagavad Gita in our country, I'm not too sure very many people have really properly understood the Bhagavad Gita. So there is such a wonderful message, and how Krishna, in a 1 hour or a 1.5 hour discourse, he changed the mind of Arjuna. Because if you read the first chapter of the Gita and the early part of the second chapter of the Gita, the arguments that Arjuna gives why this battle should not happen, they're very sound arguments. He gives reasons of morality. He gives reasons of ethics. He gives reasons of grace, graceful behavior. He gives also reasons of humanitarian considerations. And he also gives reasons of dharma. From all these angles, when you hear that, the reader will almost be convinced that yes, this battle should not happen. Pandavas should find some other way. Maybe they should go back to the forest. And Arjuna is ready. I am ready to go back to the forest. But then Krishna begins to speak and changes the mind of Arjuna. And that is why he gives an argument which is higher than the morality reasons, ethical reasons, humanitarian reasons, gracious behavior reasons, and dharmic reasons. What is that new argument that Krishna presents? Actually, that is known as the Vedanta vision. That's the Vedantic perspective. When you have that Vedantic knowledge, and when you look at the world, when you look at one's life, When you look at our community life, when we look at our human society, you will get a new perspective of humanity. And that is what Krishna did to Arjuna. And when Arjuna saw in that perspective his situation, what was in front of him, it charged him with energy and purpose to do the thing that he didn't want to do, which was the right thing to do. So, this is the power of Bhagavad Gita. This is the power of the Vedantic vision. You know, the Vedanta, Veda means knowledge. It doesn't mean Hindu scriptures. Veda means, it comes from the word with, to know. So Veda means knowledge, and Vedanta means ultimate of knowledge, or the end of knowledge, or the complete knowledge. So that is Vedanta, and that Vedanta vision is presented in a very succinct manner by Bhagavan Shri Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. And so that message, it is very profound, it's very deep. It's not surprising that very few people have actually captured that. Out of religious sentiments and cultural respect, they have respect for it. But there is a great message of the Bhagavad Gita which has to be understood. And my personal experience, I can tell you, last 40 years I have been reading Bhagavad Gita. Just a few days back I read a few pages of the Gita, and I found something which I had never seen before. Oh my God, I missed this point. So it is like that. So there is so much enriching, empowering information and knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita, which humanity should not miss out. Indians should not miss out. Indians should perfect this understanding and share this with the world. This was the call of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 500 years back, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. He traveled around India and he gave this call. Bharata bhumile manushya janma hoile yaar. Janma sartaka kare karo paropakar. This is Bengali. He said that anybody who is born in Bharat should perfect one's life and should share this knowledge with the rest of the world to make others' life perfect. You see? So this kind of a knowledge, sharing of knowledge, India, we don't want to, we have no interest in sovereign controls. No such interests Bharat has. India, we want to share this great knowledge so that let them examine this, and if they find this is wonderful, let them accept it. Let them benefit from this. So this was the perspective that Srila Prabhupada also took this knowledge around the world, and he presented it from that kind of a perspective. Krishna's message is always the same. It's a transcendental avyaya jnana, which is, you see, all this, there is one interesting statement in the United Nations. I don't know if it is still there. It used to be there on some display there. The wars in the world begin in the heart of an individual. You see. So, because of not having the right perspective of life, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? Why we come into this world? Life has only a material dimension. We must make more money. We must have more cars. We must have more bungalows, houses, and we should conquer and become powerful, become famous. Is this all the world is about? Is this all life is about? Krishna presents there is an alternative view. There's an alternative sublime goal that we must pursue. And if we pursue that sublime goal, we will not have these problems that we are facing today. So that is what Krishna would say. He would want us to be spiritually educated so that our perspectives of life changes and we will not go after power, domination and such things, but we will start enriching our own lives and help others. And when you have that kind of a perspective, you will not have these kind of issues. So it has to Change has to come from within. That is the message of Bhagavad Gita. And that is very relevant even today. Krishna would present that message even today.